Hey, welcome back. Okay, here I have my little setup. I put the light bulbs on there to simulate the loads. Okay, now this timer clock is set up on this bench in order for individuals to be trained on it and to have a little bit easier time hooking up the conductors to the sources. Now what we do have over here, the number 3, we have extended it up to a terminal block up here, and the number 4 is also extended up here. Additionally, the termination terminal, the X, it's also set up over here so we can hook up a switch to it and kind of simulate that thermostatic switch that I talked about earlier. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to energize this. This light bulb is on and it's representing the regular running mode of your system. So in other words, the compressor is running, the fans are running, everything that is needed to remove the heat from the box. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and move this just as it would be with one installed in the system. The timer clock moves and it comes to a pin that is set to a certain time for defrost, and what would happen is the loads that are utilized for the cooling cycle are going to de-energize, and then the loads that are used for the defrost are going to energize. And here's a real good example of how all that works. Now, I talked about the termination of the timer clock. It's either going to be by time or temperature. Let's go ahead and simulate 2 scenarios. The first one is going to be by time. So this clock continues to move, and eventually, let's say 15 minutes, as we mentioned earlier, happens to expire, and boom, it comes out of defrost, and the loads come back on for cooling. The loads for defrost de-energize. Now let's bring it back around again to defrost. We're in defrost again. Now, let's say that we're into the defrost 10 minutes, and the evaporator temperature, okay, has reached 55 degrees where we want it to be. What would happen is that thermostatic switch, as I drew on the board, is going to close, and it's going to have that split second to energize that solenoid and knock it out of defrost. And as you can see, when I flipped that switch and knocked it out of defrost and it brought it back to cooling mode again. That's how that works. One of the things about the timer clock itself, okay, there is really no set guidelines on when you want that system going to defrost. So you have to make that determination as a technician and figure out when you want that defrost to happen. You may sometimes get a phone call from the customer stating that everything is freezing over or it's not cooling because the evaporator is iced up and it's not being effective now to absorb heat from the box, and the products are getting thawed out. You go to the site or to the customer establishment and you notice that that's indeed what's happening. The coil is freezing over. What you may have to do is install another defrost cycle. It wouldn't be uncommon if you have on some systems to have even 3 defrost cycles in a 24-hour period. But that determination has to be made and corrected in order to prevent, especially in the restaurant or a hotel where they got food products that are going to spoil because the system doesn't have adequate defrost and the heat is not being removed from the box. So my recommendation is this: when you install a system or you install one of these guys into an existing system, that you do your research, ask questions, talk to the manager, talk to the supervisor, whoever's in charge, and see what is the frequency of the usage of the box and any additional information that might help you determine how many defrost cycles you're going to need for that system. Okay, defrost cycle clock, not too hard. This is something that are going to be around for a long time. I know that there is a lot of different designs and a lot of different new technology out there that uses solid state boards. They're all digitally now controlled, but these are going to be around for a long time. The better understanding we have on this, the better understanding we're going to have on the emerging technology that are coming out. Basically, they're just putting this into a board. Thank you very much, and I hope this helped.